Welcome to our Meet the Innovators Forum for 2012. Today is all about insight, inspiration, and information as we sort of open the kimono of innovation and innovators across a really wide range of topics and industries. We've really assembled an amazing group of thought leaders on the front lines and leading edge of innovation. As we all know, and we're all sort of hyperlinked to the world these days, the term now and the everything about now is already gone, right? Even the word new is increasingly short existence, and next has become the new. And this is precisely why we've wanted to explore and have named the theme for the day, the future of next. So one of the things we have to do every year, and this is an incredibly difficult thing to do, is to find an overall moderator for the whole day. And finding such an incredibly relevant, insightful, smart, and articulate moderator for Meet the Innovators Forum is not an easy thing to do, especially if you have the theme of the future of next. But we're truly honored today to have Andrea Cates to be our moderator. Andrea is the founder of the Business Genome Project and author of a new, wonderful best-selling business book called Find Your Next. I just happen to have a copy of this right here. A tremendous book. I highly recommend it. In fact, Seth Godin, who will join us a little later today, also recommends it right on the front of the book. So I'll just read his quote. "Every great strategic thinker uses the ideas in this book, but it took Andrea Cates to write them down for the rest of us." Andrea is a business strategist, facilitator, and speaker who has led more than 250 strategic business initiatives for global corporations, entrepreneurs, and organizations in what amounts to the who's who of what's what. I won't even list the client list here. I can tell you from personal experience that it is not easy to share the stage with Andrea, as I did just that on the main stage of the TED conference this year. In the first ever TED Simultalk, we were actually on the stage at the same time. And I can tell you it's not easy to do. Without further ado, it is my privilege and honor to introduce today's moderator, Andrea Cates.
Thank you. Great to see people. Welcome. Good morning. We are here today to take a journey together. I'm very honored to be part of Meet the Innovators Forum, and with the theme of the future of next, because by definition, none of us has any idea if what we talk about today will come true or not. But the notion is we're all inspired in, I think, a very motivating way by the spirit of Thomas Edison, and also by this notion of what happens from that second where people have a hunch that something might be possible, all the way through to an innovation and, in some cases, an invention. So at lunchtime today, we'll all have a chance to look at the showcase of some of the award winners and see how ideas come into fruition. And what I'm hoping is that all of us have a chance, whether it's in an industry that we're familiar with or an industry that we're not as familiar with, for some sort of a light bulb to go off, or some sort of bravery, or something that could get us all to think, I wonder if, fill in the blank. The journey we'll take today will consist of panels and speakers, and the topics were chosen in a very interesting way. So if we picture what Thomas Edison might be thinking about in today's context, and whether that's retail, entrepreneurism, social enterprise, what would it be like for him to think about new technologies and medicine, or retail space marketing? What would marketing look like in his mind? How might an inventor's mind or an innovator's mind put the pieces together differently so that he could sit there maybe in a camera company, and rather than as Nikon looking at Canon, maybe Nikon would be looking at iPhones. And so in the afternoon, we'll also look at education and the notion of design itself and this idea of design thinking. We'll have experts from each of these industries working with us in ways that I would hope would inspire us not just to think deep, but also broadly. So that's the spirit that we'll be in today. We'll be in a feeling of discovery. We don't know what's next. We might not actually know what's next as the day goes on. But I really encourage all of us to interact, to meet some new people, and to come away at the end of the day with a little bit of bravery toward a hunch and a little bit of insight about what might be possible. To set the stage for today, I'd like to introduce Dr. Paul Israel. He is the director and general editor of the Thomas Edison Papers at Rutgers University, which has more than 200,000 digital annotated images as well as 15-volume set of books. And it's been described as one of the most ambitious editing projects ever undertaken at an American university. Dr. Israel is also the author of Edison, A Life of Invention. So I'd like to introduce, to set the stage with the spirit of Thomas Edison, Dr. Paul Israel.
The Edison Papers, just to give you an idea, there are about 5 million pages of papers related to Thomas Edison. 5 million pages. Why so much? Well, in part, that's what I want to talk about this morning, because Edison was more than just an individual, and I think that was very important. Right? You all work in organizations. Well, Thomas Edison created some really significant, innovative organizations. The Edison Papers, just to give you an idea, that's a digital image from the online edition. That's a page out of our annotated book edition. We also have been producing other forms of scholarship about Edison, my biography, a book on the electric light, a collection of documents, and numerous articles as well. But what I want to focus on today is Edison the innovator. We tend to think of Thomas Edison as an inventor, and he was. He was a very creative, technical inventor. But at the same time, besides his talents in research, he was also very much an entrepreneur and a businessman, something that he often isn't recognized for enough. And as I've already suggested, our image of him is often that of this individual, right, working alone, the heroic inventor. But the true story of innovations like his improved wax recording phonograph is the team of people that he worked with, right? And bringing people together to innovate new technology was part of what Edison did in new and important ways. The first of those new and important ways was the research laboratory. Edison is the first person to take sort of traditional 19th century machine shop prototyping, right? These skilled machinists who could build anything you could dream of in that era, most of it mechanical in some sense, and combine it with electrical and chemical research laboratories and begin to do more sophisticated kinds of basic applied research to figure out how to solve technical problems. But just as importantly, Edison transformed his own laboratories not just into research institutions, but into research and development laboratories. And it's that development stage where Edison really outcompeted everybody else, right? By taking the resources of his laboratory. So when he develops the electric light, he spends a year, basically from the fall of 78 to the fall of 79, he devises his basic generator and invents a feasible commercial lamp. It's not yet commercial, but it's at least at a stage where he can figure out how to turn it into a commercial device. The year 1880, the following year, all of the parts of the system were developed and improved. They built a prototype central station, proved it out, and then he built a lamp factory so he could figure out how to mass manufacture electric lamps. Nobody had ever done that before, right? So it was an ongoing process of development work. Just as importantly, Edison understood the value of what you all understand, market research, right? So when he decided to go into New York to set up the first central station, he surveyed the area where he was going. He figured out how much light was being used, when it was being used. He figured out how much power was being used and began to work on electric motors in order to sell power during the day when not as much electricity was being used for lighting. And that continuous R&D was a really important function of Edison's work. So on this graph here, this is 1879, this is 1880, 1881, 1882, and 1883. Those were his patent applications for those years. And you'll see that when he left Menlo Park to move into New York, set up the manufacturing plants, and begin to install the first electric plants, he was actually patenting at a much higher rate than during the years of research and development, right? As he said, the patents I've now taken are more valuable than those already taken. Those already taken were to secure, if possible, the science of the thing. These I am taking now are commercial, right? So this was an important shift in the way in which people began to think about how invention took place, right? That it's this process of innovation that begins with the idea but moves continuously through into the marketplace. Again, working on trying to figure out how to commercialize the lamp, how to build an efficient, long-lasting bulb, and how to manufacturing it. You know, so in the first 4 years of the factory's existence, they did about 2,700 experiments, right? Continuously improving the process. Edison then built a larger version of Menlo Park in West Orange, New Jersey. It still exists today. If you get a chance, go out and visit it. It's an inspirational place, and it's really interesting to see what Edison created and how effectively he was able to continue this process at West Orange. Larger staff, eventually a huge manufacturing installation built around the laboratory. The laboratory circled at the top. The rest of those are all manufacturing plants, right, to manufacture the various products that Edison had developed over the course of his years in West Orange. Edison was an innovator more than an inventor. As creative as he was, what he was really good at was starting new industries. He started 3 of them: electric light and power, sound recording, motion pictures. He contributed to a whole bunch of other industries: telecommunications, batteries, chemicals, cement, mining. I realized after I made this slide there should have been medical down here because he was involved in the early X-ray technology as well. And he was able to do that because he did 2 other things. He developed the Corporate Research and Development Laboratory, and he essentially transformed invention into modern innovation, right? All those stages from invention to R&D to commercialization to ongoing commitment to making better, cheaper, more useful products and putting them in the marketplace. So I hope as you go through the day listening to the stories of other people doing innovation, to thinking about what is next, that this story from the past helps to inspire your thinking about what is next. Thank you.